Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Heaven NBA Preview Podcast. My name is Tyler, and I'll be your host this afternoon. And with me today is Joel.
Hello.
We're going to go through each of the NBA matchups in the first round, starting in the East with the Brooklyn Nets going to be at the Atlanta Hawks. Now, there's not too much credibility in this matchup saying that the Brooklyn Nets just made it in the playoffs and they are a below 500 team. Everybody seems to think the Atlanta Hawks are going to be able to blow the Nets out of the water. So what is your take on this matchup, Joel?
Well, I think it's exactly that. They will blow the Nets out of the water because Atlanta's just been too good this year. I mean, to be completely honest. They're coming into the playoffs very healthy. The only person who's really injured is Stavros Sefolosha, and he probably will not play at all this postseason, frankly, after his little problems with police. We're not going to get into that. But just look at this team throughout the whole year. Very impressive season from everyone. They saw, almost everyone in their starting five made the All-Star team this year besides DeMar Carroll. But he's still an extremely good player, too. So, I don't know. It's just a really impressive team. It's hard to point out someone who's like quite a star player on that. You know, if you catch my drift here, it's kind of like, I don't know. I would say that probably the best player on this team is Al Horford. Bigger Paul Millsap, but this is an impressive team, and they're going to be extremely fun to watch because they're going to blow out the Nets, and then after that, we'll see what they do, but they've just been moving the ball well. They take the open shots and they make them, and they're one of the best all-around teams right now in the NBA.
Yeah, the Hawks are definitely one of the best, well-rounded teams. I think they're the definition of playing as a team. Their starting five really is very fluid. They know what to do. They know each other. They can really play well with each other. But like you said, there's not really a star, which is why the Hawks, I think in February, the entire starting five was named the Player of the Month, which is very impressive for me. But I think the Nets maybe have a chance. I don't know. Their roster's not horrible, but I think I could see them winning a game, maybe two in the series. I mean, they got Brook Lopez, they got Joe Johnson, they got Darren Williams. Those guys aren't necessarily too bad. And the backup point guard Jarrett Jack, who used to back up Steph Curry in Golden State, but they're not necessarily going to be a bad team. They have five guys that are that have over 10 points per game. Brook Lopez is averaging 17.2 with 7 rebounds a game. They don't look like a horrible team right now. I just think they're just having a kind of bad luck this season.
I don't know. There's plenty of good players on that team. I think the problem, though, is when you look at it, is that they just haven't played as a team very well. There's a number of guys on that team who is a star player, or who could be the star player, and which so we said maybe Atlanta doesn't quite have. But maybe the problem with Brooklyn is they have too many guys like that, you know? Darren Williams he's a good point guard, but it seems like the last couple of years he's lost touch, frankly. And he's had injury problems. He's had all sorts of problems all around. And I just don't think this team has a chance against the Hawks. I would say the Nets will win this in 4 games.
Yeah, I agree that I don't know if it's going to be necessarily 4 games, maybe 5 or 6. But yeah, I definitely think the Hawks are going to win this. The Nets have just gone through too much in the recent couple of years, losing Jason Kidd after one season, then having Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce both depart at the end of last season and through the middle of this season. The Nets are just going through too much change right now. Maybe next year, the year after that, could see them maybe competing, getting a good draft pick, getting a good free agent, maybe something to solidify that team. But right now, they will not stand a chance against the Hawks. So moving on to the next matchup over in the East, it's going to be the Cleveland Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. I'm sorry about that. The Boston Celtics have kind of emerged recently, being over 500 since the All-Star break, and becoming second in the Atlantic standings, only behind Toronto. But the Cavs just look too good right now, with LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love playing great basketball. Where is your take on this matchup, Joel?
Well, this is one that, it's going to be a little interesting because Boston has actually gotten a little bit better. We can definitely agree with that. Since acquiring Isaiah Thomas, the Celtics have been a different team. But they're just unfortunately running into probably the hottest team in the NBA in the second half. With all respect to the Warriors, the Cleveland Cavaliers right now are playing the best of any basketball team. and I think that's a bit of a problem. And I'd like to say the Celtics could win a couple games, but it's really tough to see anything else because the series record is 2-2. The Cavs are resting starters quite a bit though in the last two meetings, which were back to backs at the end of this month. At the start of this month, just a couple days ago actually. So I think Cleveland will get this series. Maybe the Celtics win one just because of Isaiah Thomas, but boy, it's hard to go against Cleveland right now.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, Joe. I see the Celtics probably winning one game at home this series, and then the Cavs winning the series in 5 games. But I like the Celtics team. If the Celtics didn't run into the Cavs in their first round matchup, I think they could beat whoever else they ran into. Like you said, the Hawks are obviously a great team, but if they could have got the 6th seed or the 5th seed, I think they could have beaten Toronto or the Bulls. I just think they're playing really good basketball right now, like you said, led by Isaiah Thomas. That was a great pickup at the trade deadline after getting rid of Jeff Green and Rajon Rondo. He's come in and performed admirably for the Celtics, and he's getting great support by Jared Sellinger, Brandon Bass, Kelly Olynyk. Right now, the Celtics are playing great team basketball.
Yeah, honestly, I would completely agree with you on that point there. If the Celtics were ranked a little bit higher and they were playing the Bulls or Raptors, I would give them a legitimate shot. The problem, though, is it's a very, very young team. As great as Isaiah Thomas has been, he has not made the playoffs before. So this will be, I don't believe he's made it before. He started the season with Phoenix, but before that he was with the Kings, and obviously they didn't get in. So, I'm impressed by what he's done. This is a learning experience for the Celtics. They're going to get whooped, but they're going to learn from it. And I think next year they could be a 6th seed. Frankly, if they can continue, whether the East gets better or not, I think the Celtics are good enough that they can get higher next year.
Oh, I agree 100%. This is going to be a great learning experience for the Celtics, getting to feel what that playoff atmosphere is going to be like. And then I actually can see them being in the 4 or 5 matchup next year and maybe moving on to the second round, especially because they have so many first-round picks in the next couple of years. They are on the brink of being a great team.
They've drafted well. They've made a point of getting lots of draft picks. I think the way they've handled these last couple of years is impressive. I don't think they expected to make the postseason this year, but even though they had made it with a losing record, I would say the season's a success for them. Because getting that experience with your young guys, that's great. That's priceless. They're going to lose. I'm sorry, that's going to happen, but they learn from it. The players get experience. They've got more draft picks coming, so this can only be a good thing for the Celtics.
Yeah, I imagine the people in Boston are very happy with the Celtics team right now and with their management. So moving on to the 3-6 matchup in the East, the Chicago Bulls are going to be playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Jason Kidd's new team this year. The Milwaukee Bucks had the 2nd overall pick in the draft, and they've really been able to revamp the roster and get some nice fresh talent in there and make a push to these playoffs. But Chicago hasn't exactly looked great lately. They just got Derrick Rose back. So do you see any way that the Milwaukee Bucks can upset the Chicago Bulls?
Well, boy, these 3-6 and 4-5 matchups in the East are where you start getting a lot more questions about who's going to win, because there's definitely a lot of room for all 4 of those teams. You can make a case for them in their respective series. Frankly, it's hard to go against the Bulls, and I don't think I can. But the Bucks have been good this year. They've been good enough to get in. But honestly, I would say this one has to go to the Bulls. Derrick Rose is slowly coming back, and I'm liking what I'm seeing with him slowly but surely. So he's getting more minutes, and he's going to get a little bit of rest coming into this weekend. So, but we'll see. Because Wednesday when they played the Hawks, he had knee soreness, so he did not play at all in the second half. Frankly, I don't think he should start. I'd say start Aaron Brooks. What do you have to lose there? He's had a great season. He's been a really good point guard, and he's been healthy. He played all 82 games. I'd say just start Aaron Brooks. And then let Rose come off the bench. Rose will come in spurts. He'll be the focus of the offense. If you got Brooks out there, you've got everyone else around him who's going to excel. And I think that's really important. You need to get Pau Gasol the ball. He's been great. You need Jimmy Butler out there doing stuff. I know he's kind of He's been okay, I guess, since coming back from his injury, but his numbers aren't quite what they were before. So, and he missed the game the other day when they played the Heat. So, I like the Bulls, but I think the more Rose is going to play, the more they're going to have a little bit of struggles because he's still trying to get his way back, and I would like him with a second unit out there, you know?
Yeah, having Derrick Rose not start the game isn't necessarily going to be a bad idea, like for the reasons you said. But I don't think that people in Chicago are going to like that one bit. They want to see Derrick Rose on the course. They want to see him be the star. They want to see him single-handedly take down the Milwaukee Bucks. But obviously that will not happen.
Yeah.
The best thing for him would probably be to not start the game and come in as a supporting role and just get back to playoff feel. But
absolutely,
for these Milwaukee Bucks, I think it's the same thing that you said with the Celtics. It's going to be a learning experience. I don't necessarily see them upsetting the Chicago Bulls in the first round because they have a lot of young players like Michael Carter-Williams, who they got off of the 76ers, Poe, Jabari Parker, who all have not had any playoff experience yet. This obviously they're going to lose, but hopefully they'll get some good experience, mature, get some nice young talent in the offseason as well, and be back and stronger than ever. I'd like to see the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics in the 4-5 matchup next year.
That would be really interesting if they can both get some good draft picks this coming summer, and especially if the Bucks are able to get Jabari Parker back healthy. That would definitely be beneficial. But right now, like you said, the Bucks won't win this one. I don't think there's enough talent. Brandon Knight, another guy, he was involved in the trade that sent Isaiah Thomas to the Celtics. He was a great pickup, frankly, for the Bucks. I think he was an upgrade. But I don't know if he's got enough around him. Giannis Antetokounmpo, very great player, very great. But he's still a little bit young. He's still figuring things out. We're only going to see him get better. But I think the NBA is going to get a really good look at him this postseason. I think this will help improve his game and teach him what he really needs to be successful at. But as of right now, the Bulls just, like we said, there's enough good players on this team, despite their health issues, that they're gonna do pretty well. Jimmy Butler is the best player on this team now. Derrick Rose hasn't been healthy enough. He's not the best player anymore. Al Gasol's ahead of Derrick Rose. So, as long as the Bulls give the ball to Butler and Gasol, they let them do their work. I honestly think if Rose comes off the bench, you get the best out of him. I think he does real well. And then, heck, you get someone like Nikola Mirotic in there. He's shown throughout the season. Well, he's been healthy the whole year. He's shown he can shoot extremely well. So you get him out there. Obviously Noah, huge energy player. There's a lot to like about the Bulls, so at least for this first round. I don't know how they'll go after that, but first round, I'd say this should be an easy series for them.
Yes, I agree completely. The Bulls should be able to handle this one. So let's move on to probably the best matchup in the East, the 4-5 matchup, the Toronto Raptors against the Washington Wizards. Now, the Washington Wizards and both teams, actually, Washington and Toronto, are up-and-coming teams with a lot of young talent and veteran playoff experience. Both teams have played very well in the regular season. Who do you think can win this pivotal 4-5 matchup, Joel?
Boy, this is a tough one here. The Raptors are going off losing 7 games last year to the Nets, but the Raptors have won their division again, and that's something they needed to do, and that's very impressive. But they're playing a really tough team in Washington, so this is going to be a long series. I think this one's going to go 7, frankly, because I see a lot of even matchups in between here. But I think I would have to give a slight edge to the Raptors. I think they're hungry. I don't know how far they can get with as long as the Cavaliers and Hawks are in the East, but I think the Raptors will win this first round series. I like DeMar DeRozan. I think he's a really solid player. His health, he's missed I believe 22 games this year, but when he was healthy, you saw him playing very well. He just improves as he gets older. And then you gotta look at Kyle Lowry. He's probably one of the most underrated point guards in the league. The NBA is point guard dominated. And the Raptors, I think, have one of the best in Kyle Lowry. 17.8 points per game, 6.8 assists. He's he's very good at getting the ball in the shooter's hands, or if he'd be doing it himself, And then don't underestimate Jonas Valanciunas. He had his 12 points per game, but he was out there. He was really prevalent. Obviously the rebound, 8.7 per game. Very impressive play. Hey, can you stop for a sec? Give me a sec. Fuck off. On the phone.
I actually don't think Kyle Lowry is going to even be the best point guard in the series. John Wall has really blossomed into a great NBA player. Right now for the season, he's averaging a double-double with 17.6 points and 17.6 points per game and 10 assists per game. He's a type of player that can take over a game, take over a series, and really propel his team farther into the playoffs. I personally will have the Washington Wizards moving on in 7. Like you said, this is going to be a great series. There's John Wall is going to have a lot of support from Martin Gortat. I'm sorry, Paul Pierce, Chris Humphries, and a lot of others. He's surrounded by a lot of great guys, a lot of veteran leadership. Washington Wizards just look too good for the Toronto Raptors to knock off.
Yeah, I would say in terms of veteran experience, you have to give the edge to the Wizards. Maybe just on Paul Pierce alone. I thought that was a nice move by them in the offseason. But I don't know. I see the young legs of the Raptors. I think they're extremely hungry. I think the way the Raptors could really win this series, because it's going to be tough trying to stop Bradley Beal and John Wall. But maybe if you have, I know Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are a great 1-2 punch to combat them. But if Amir Johnson and Jonas Valanciunas have a really big series, that down low is the center and power forward, that's going to go huge ways in determining this series, because I think that the center and power forward position is where the Wizards might struggle a little bit more. And obviously, it's not a great area either for the Raptors, but the team who gets the advantage down low probably is the one that moves on.
I don't know. Martin Gortat. I'm sorry, I just cannot say his name. Is averaging 12. Gortat, thank you. Is averaging 12 points per game. And he's looks like he's a real force to be reckoned with down low. They also have Nene as a power forward and Chris Humphries also as a power forward. They have a lot of depth there. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the weakness for them. I think they could outdo the Toronto Raptors in that category.
I don't really think it's a weakness. I would say it's just not as. Obviously these teams rely on their guards to do their scoring. That's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I would say it's just a lesser area, because you see more of the you see a lot of, more scoring from you see the Lowry, DeRozan, and then for the Wizards, Beal and John Wall. So it's hard to say how this one will go. I would say the Wizards probably have a better center power forward combo. I do like Nene a lot, and Gortat just brings so much energy to the court, and that's huge for Washington. But like I said, if Amir Johnson can really step up in this series, that's going to determine if the Raptors win.
So let's move on to the Western Conference. The first matchup we're going to talk about is the 1-8 matchup, the Golden State Warriors against the New Orleans Pelicans. Two great players in this matchup, Steph Curry versus Anthony Davis. Obviously, they don't play the same position, but it's going to be great to see those two battling it out against each other. Two up-and-coming stars in the NBA. Obviously, I think everybody thinks that Golden State's going to win this game. Golden State's probably going to end up in the finals in the West, since they're the number 1 seed and look fantastic right now. But do you think there's any way New Orleans can pull off a upset here?
Well, I don't know if they'll be able to pull up an upset, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to sneak a couple games out, frankly. This team is they've been trying to find their way throughout this season. They struggled when Anthony Davis when he was out, but fortunately Anthony Davis is healthy right now. And frankly, I said myself, up until he got hurt, I thought he was the MVP of the league. Yeah, because he just had put up great numbers. He still did. He had a great season. He averaged a double-double. That's impressive to do for a power forward, for anyone to do, frankly. But I like him. I like the future of this team, but I don't think there's quite enough against a tougher team like the Warriors.
Yeah, the Warriors are just too good for the Pelicans to really match up against. The one weakness that the Warriors do have is probably in their low post game. Right now, the Warriors are led by Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, both fantastic 3-point shooters. I think just recently Steph Curry said he made a record 33 3-pointers in a row in practice, which I just thought was phenomenal. But they really don't have a great down low presence. They have, I guess they have Derek Lee and Marquise Spates down low, but they really haven't shown dominance so far in any games that it makes me think that they could win any battles down low. They're going to just have to rely on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to work on that shooting game and just make people look silly on offense.
Well, I don't know if it's easy to say that because David Lee, for one of the first times in his career, he's had to come off the bench instead of start. And that was a heck of an adjustment for him. So his numbers are a little bit down. The difference he makes for them is not. I think he is more valuable coming off of the bench when a team that is loaded with the talent that they have. So I would say don't underestimate David Lee and his contributions. Andrew Bogut has shown in the NBA he is not exactly a scorer, but he is a great body down low defensively. He will get his rebounds. I like him. And don't forget about Maurice Speights off the bench. I mean, only real diehard NBA fans would have known about him coming into this season, but he has shown he is very valuable to the Warriors. And, you know, the difference between these two teams, besides Steph Curry, is frankly the benches. You know, you look at New Orleans. Very interesting team. They have a lot of solid starters, frankly. You know, you have your Drew Holiday, Tyreek Evans, Eric Gordon on this team too, with Anthony Davis, Omer C. Very solid, but off the bench, there aren't as many options, frankly, for the Pelicans. You know, Ryan Anderson, great player, great shooter, but it's not really. I mean, besides him, there isn't much help. So I think the Pelicans have a solid starting five. You know, they could be up there rivaling most other teams. However, I don't think they have enough to compete with the Warriors. Andre Iguodala coming off the bench as well is huge. He just brings. I mean, he brings that kind of speed that the Warriors will use to get up the court. Versatility. He's going to score down low. There's a lot to like about the Warriors to even consider betting against.
Yeah, I think Andre Iguodala will also bring a lot of leadership to that team after making it to the playoffs a couple times with the Nuggets and the 76ers. I think just this will be a great learning experience again for the Pelicans. I know we said this a lot in the podcast, but there's a lot of great young teams in the playoffs right now that just need to gain some experience and leadership. So let's move on to the next game in the West. The Houston Rockets, which is the 2 seed, going to be against the number 7 Dallas Mavericks. This isn't necessarily going to be a blowout like the East would be in the 2-7 matchup. Houston's played great this year, so has Dallas, only separated by, 3 games right now? The rest of the West is very, very tight. So do you think Dallas can overcome some barriers and beat Houston?
Boy, I don't know. There's a lot to like about how the Mavericks have progressed this season. After these last couple of years, they've kind of been in the middle spot since they've lost. Since they made the finals and beat Miami. They've kind of been trying to find an identity since then. They've had to get rid of older players, and they got rid of Tyson Chandler. They brought him back. Great move because Tyson Chandler, when healthy, is still very effective.
Very good. But, very, very effective.
The problem it seems with Dallas is Rajon Rondo. As unfortunate as that is, that not many people expected it to go this poorly. But frankly, Rondo and Monte Ellis it's very different personalities. Monte Ellis is someone who wants the ball at all times. He's the type of point guard that wants to take it in and score himself. He's not a great shooter, but he can score. And he gets to the line. He does what he has to do. Monte Ellis doesn't clash with other guards that want to score well. He played with Steph Curry. He's played with Brandon Jennings. And it hasn't worked out. He's playing with Rondo, and it's just proving true. The Mavericks were doing better before they got Rondo because Ellis was able to, he got to do what he had to run the offense the way he wanted, and it worked. The Mavericks were doing better. However, it doesn't look very good right now with Rondo there, and I just think there's too many personalities, frankly, on this team. I think the Mavericks were solid before Rondo, and maybe they could have bumped up to a 5 seed or so overall. But I don't know. With Rondo, there's been too many problems, frankly, and this could be a tough series. If things get frustrating early, they might fall apart. But frankly, they're playing a team like the Rockets that's got a lot of injuries right now, and that could help the Spurs. I mean, not the Spurs, the Mavericks. That could help the Mavericks win a couple games. Frankly, like I said, there's a lot of injuries. I mean, Dwight Howard missed half the season. We don't know how he's quite going to do. We don't know how well he'll clash with Harden. Harden's having an MVP season, no doubt about it, without a doubt. But that said, will Dwight Howard be able to be a force down low? Can he stop Dirk Nowitzki? We don't know.
Yeah, this is going to be a really weird matchup, I'd say. Like you said, Rajon Rondo is probably the biggest problem that the Mavericks have right now. I don't think he's going to be in a Mavericks uniform next season. I think there's no way he's just going to return to that team. But like you said, Tyson Chandler is going to be a real force down low. combined with him and Dirk Nowitzki, it's going to be interesting to see how those two match up against if Dwight Howard can guard either one of them very well, because Dwight Howard's known for being probably one of the better defensive players in the NBA. I can see the Mavericks winning maybe a game or two, but I don't see it going any past that. I definitely think the Rockets can handle them, especially if James Harden can go off and take control of the series. James Harden's just such a great player right now. It's hard to beat him.
Yeah. He and Curry are the two best scorers, without a doubt,
yes,
right now.
Definitely. So, so go ahead.
I don't know. Like I was saying, I think the Rockets have had a couple injuries. Beverly and Montejunas. So there's a couple question marks at point guard and power forward. You got to see how some players are going to step up. They need Terrence Jones to perform very well as a power forward, and they need Jason Terry, someone who's a little bit older. They need him to be okay as a point guard, basically to start. I think he can shoot well. I think Harden's going to be running the offense for the most part. So I think the Mavericks can steal a couple games in this series. I think they drew a very solid first-round opponent for them. That's a good matchup in favor of the Mavericks. Yes. But I think Harden on his own can win maybe 2 games. So, and I think besides that, I think the Rockets will get a couple others. I expect Dwight Howard. I think he'll have some struggles early on, but I think he'll figure out the Mavericks near the end. And I'm going to say that the Rockets would win this one in 6 games.
Yeah, I think this is a good series for Dwight Howard to get his feet back under him and prepare for the next round of the playoffs. So let's move on to the next game, the 3-6 matchup, the Los Angeles Clippers against the San Antonio Spurs. Both teams have been played very well this season, so only separated by 1 game in the standings. San Antonio, obviously the reigning NBA champion. They always seem to do good, make a playoff push, no matter what their record is, no matter what their seed is. Do you see San Antonio making another push this season, or do you see the Los Angeles Clippers giving them an early exit?
Boy, the Spurs have been hot, frankly. It's just, there's really no other way to put it. They lost, I believe, yesterday to the, who was that, to the Pelicans, correct? Yeah, I think they lost yesterday to get it, because that's how they just missed it. I mean, someone got in because the Spurs lost, but basically, they're 21-4 since the end of February. That's just, it's ridiculous. Yeah, this team is the hottest in basketball, right? Besides, we said the Cavs are the best in the East. I'm saying the Spurs are the best in the West. I think those two meet in the finals, and I think it starts with this series. Clippers have made lots of improvements this season. There's a lot to like about them, but they could not have gotten a tougher draw in the first round. I think if the Clippers played the Warriors, they probably could win that series, frankly. The Clippers against the Spurs, boy, this series is going to go to the Spurs. DeAndre Jordan has had his best season of his career. He's made a great adjustment, and he's an elite player, finally. He's finally who they want him to be, and that's great. But we'll see how Blake Griffin does as he's easing back. He missed some time recently. He just got back before the end of the season, but he was playing okay. Chris Paul, he's locked in, but Spurs are just a little bit better. I like their bench.
Yeah, it always seems to be hard to beat the Spurs in the playoffs. But like you said, the Clippers are a very good team. They have a great down low punch with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan's averaging 15 rebounds per game this season, and Blake Griffin is averaging 21.9 points this season. They just look so good down low. And then you also got Chris Paul, who's averaging 10 assists this season. They just look so great right now. It's just so unfortunate they drew the Spurs. I think this is going to go the full 7 games. I think it's going to be a real toss-up who wins this series. Both teams look really good right now, and this should be probably one of the best matchups out of the entire NBA first round.
Absolutely. There's questions about defending the Clippers, I think, all around. You look at Chris Paul. If Tony Parker isn't able to, don't be surprised if someone like Kawhi Leonard has to go down there. Kawhi Leonard could easily win Defensive Player of the Year this season. I think you put him down there, maybe he could cover Paul well, or you have him cover someone else. I don't think they would want to put him on J.J. Redick or Jamal Crawford just because they'll be up by the 3-point line. But they're going to put Leonard on someone who's a lot more explosive. He might fail. He's probably just going to be on Matt Barnes a lot, but don't be surprised if he switches over to another smaller scorer like that. The Tim Duncan Blake Griffin matchup is going to be fantastic. We're going to see a lot of points from those two either way. But I think Tim Duncan is going to have an advantage because he's a better defensive player than Griffin, And because of that, Duncan will also be able to score pretty easily, I think, on Griffin. Because Griffin is a great offensive scorer, no doubt about it. It's just his defense isn't as good. So we'll see Tim Duncan take advantage of that. But don't be surprised if you see DeAndre Jordan defending Tim Duncan, which is a better matchup, and that might be even more amazing to watch.
Now the other big question is Tim Duncan coming back next season?
I would say yes. I think he will be, regardless of how this one goes. But we do know that next season will be Monty Ginobili's last. So, as we said, the Spurs, they won last year, they lost the year before. Time is literally running out right now. Kawhi Leonard has emerged as a new star player, and he is already, I think, a better player than Monty Ginobili has been. But we got to see how the Spurs will handle this series, because if they go down quick, I don't know, there might be some changes just because they're running out. They're almost out of time.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know. I don't think the Spurs are going to get down quick at all. Like you said, they're going to be they're a really hot team right now, but it's definitely going to go to 7 games. We'll see who wins. Moving on to the last matchup in the first round, the Portland Trail Blazers against the Memphis Grizzlies. Going to be a great matchup. Again, Portland and Memphis both look really good this season. Who do you think can pull out of this pivotal matchup?
Well, if the Trailblazers were completely healthy, I would say they will win this series. The problem is they aren't. And I think because of that, the Grizzlies will win this series. LaMarcus Aldridge has been playing hurt almost the whole season. Wesley Matthews was lost, 20 games ago, and he hasn't returned since then. Arana Flawless dealing with some injuries. Batum's hurt. Kane's hurt. McCollum is hurt. This whole team is hurt. And it seems like Damian Lillard's the only one who's still afloat, basically. But I don't know. I guess it depends. We'll see how Portland does with all these players. We'll see who does play in the playoffs and who doesn't. But, boy, Lillard is the only one who played all 82 games this season, and Steve Blake was the only one to even play 80 games. So it's not looking good for Portland.
Yeah, actually, the Grizzlies haven't had that great of injuries this year. Marc Gasol has played 81 games, but no one. Zach Randolph missed about 10 games this season. They haven't exactly been great healthy right now. Healthy as of right now. Healthy, but they are right now. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I cannot speak. But they do. The Grizzlies look really good with another great down low combo of Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph. Marc Gasol just looks just like Pau Gasol did in his prime. It's going to be hard for Portland to knock down the Grizzlies.
Well, Robin Lopez is a very solid matchup defensively against Marc Gasol. However, Marc Gasol's just been too good this year, and I think he'll exploit that. And Zach Randolph, he looks healthy. I think he'll do pretty well against Aldridge, both offensively and defensively. It's hard to pick against the Grizzlies because of those two. And frankly, another point guard who isn't talked about enough, we mentioned Kyle Lowry earlier, I'd say is Mike Conley for the Grizzlies. He could probably have a better series than Damian Lillard if he is able to defend him up pretty well. And I think he can. But you look to see Lillard put up points in bunches. I don't think his shooting numbers will be great because of all the injuries. And I think they're going to need a prayer and of help to win this series. I'd say Grizzlies and probably 6.
Yeah, the Grizzlies are just a great playoff team as well. They always seem to battle out teams in the playoffs, kind of like the Spurs, but they're never able to get to the finals. So I know we both have the Cavaliers going to the East, coming out of the East to the NBA Finals. But so who do you have in the West?
I say the Spurs still. They look very impressive. I like everything I've seen from them so far. I think they'll get past the Clippers. It's going to be a textbook fight. But I think they can do it because I think they're a tougher team. They're more meant for the playoffs than the Clippers are. And I see them in the Cavs in the finals, but boy, that's going to be a fun final. This will be I believe the 4th time LeBron James will face the Spurs. It'll be twice for both Cavs and the Heat now. But it should be interesting. I would say that I think the Spurs would beat Cleveland in the finals, frankly.
I actually kind of see it's going to be Cleveland Golden State. I think it's going to be a new a new beginning for the Western Conference, where the Golden State Warriors will dominate instead of the Spurs. I do see Golden State topping Cleveland. Golden State, like you said, with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, they just look too good shooting right now. They're dominating all of their opponents. So it's going to be a great title run, and hopefully the Golden State Warriors will win.
I see the Warriors playing the Spurs in the West Finals, but I don't think the Warriors quite have an answer for Tim Duncan, frankly. I think they've got some good players down low defensively. I mean, big men, but David Lee is not quite known as a defender. Andrew Bogut will do well, but they're going to find ways to get Duncan loose, and if not him, then easily Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I do. If there is any place where the Spurs can beat the Golden State, it is with Tim Duncan. But I still don't see it happening.
Don't underestimate some of those 3-point shooters that the Spurs have either. Danny Green, Manu Ginobili, Marco Bellinelli. We talk about the Splash Brothers a lot, but boy, the Spurs can shoot the lights out, and they do a heck of a job, especially in the postseason, at getting the open man, hitting him with the pass, and he shoots 3 and he makes it.
Yeah,
so I think
Golden
the Spurs
State does
have
it
better
better.
ball movement.
But Golden State does it better, man.
I don't know. I think with Curry out there, they have an advantage at point guard. Don't forget Tony Parker, boy. He goes straight to the hoop. He gets some nice buckets there. He's going to get fouled a lot. He's going to get whacked. I think the Spurs can. I think they can out. I don't know how to put it out. They'll play a little bit more physically, and that's what they're meant. That's something the Warriors can't quite do. They're not meant for physical basketball.
Well, it is going to be a very interesting playoff, both in the East and Western Conferences, to see who can come out and face each other and win the NBA title. Well, thank you very much